So I have all of these takeaways, and this is part one of two in the email. And in this video, I have 150 pages of notes just from the 2 days that we were masterminding, as well as I think the bigger part that I want to share with you and why I made the video is like the energy shift and the awareness and just sitting with it. And so this this is me warming up, and then part two, like I'm going to go really deep into this, but I wrote a bunch of notes out here. So first off, to orient you to this, so this was in Denver. It was an invite only mastermind for multi seven figure, eight figure digital entrepreneurs. And so the first thing that kind of got me was like that the intimacy of it. Like it wasn't in a ballroom, it wasn't in like this fancy hotel or a Ritz or anything like that. Not that we didn't stay at a fancy hotel. I actually stayed at a client and a friend's house. But it was like this really intimate setting. And we pooled our money together. We invested in, having these brilliant minds come in, and they just sat down, pulled up a chair, and had this conversation with us. And I'm going to get like deeper into how that shifted the energy. And I'm not going to give you like a play by play of what they said, but it's about what I felt and what I saw and witnessed and what stayed with me, not just from the hierarchy of these people speaking. I am going to share with you about those minds. But just about like the energy of the connection and the community in the room. And that's why I put a really special PS in this week's email, because my desire and my clarity after doing this is that it's not necessarily about investing in knowledge. It's about investing in connection, investing in community. And I'm going to tell you guys something absolutely crazy. So I had never heard of Peter Sheahan. Like that was one of the individuals that came and spoke to us. And he spoke, and I was like, wow. And then yeah, he just thinks about things differently. It wasn't like the ahas of the things that he said, but it was his energy, and it was unapologetic. And at one point he was just like, I'm not really here for your feedback. I don't care about your feedback. It was just really disruptive. And so I'd been reading this book, and I was on like, I don't know, page 40 or something when I went into this. And I looked at this. I hope you guys can see this, but it's literally him, Sheehan's wall. And it says, like, we named this framework after Peter Sheahan, who created the essence of the original concept in his book. And like, I'm like, wow, what are the odds that out of all the books that I'm reading, I don't know if anybody else does this, but I read like 3 books at a time sometimes. This is a book that I picked up off the recommendation of one of my friends who is also a massive digital marketer and a digital entrepreneur. And then I'm reading this book, and here's this guy that I have never heard of that walks into this room, and we don't just spend that time together. We end up, at his home and like sharing some intimate conversations. And the thing that struck me, and the reason that I wanted to open up the space that in the invitation that I'm sharing with you in the PS in this email, for those of you that are watching this video, and for those of you that responded to my special invitation, and those of you that are going to respond to it and read that, is that like, I'm so clear that this person was supposed to be in my life. However, in the less than 12 hours that I knew him, I probably met him around 11. We were invited to his house for dinner like that night. So this is like at 7:30. He's making connections, and he's making like introductions to people that I would be cold calling. I would be emailing. It would take me years, or it would take me, I mean, these are the stories that I'm telling myself, investing to be able to have conversations with these people where he's like, I'm just going to make an introduction. Go here, ask for this person, talk to this person. I'll connect you guys. Like, that's why I said in the email is, I grew up hearing this. I'd rather be lucky than good. I was like, well, I want to be good. I want to be great. Right. And you can be great. And you are great. This is something that I know about my community is you guys are freaking brilliant. You're absolutely brilliant. And like, sometimes we can be the most best kept secrets in business and in life and for our clients. And that's basically what I was thinking here is like, I I invested to be in this room and I invested to be in this group, and wall after wall after wall is coming down from him making these introductions, as well as from me just witnessing how fast it gets to move, the true quantum leaping of, when you say like, when the student is ready, the teacher arrives. Like, I have said the same thing to a client 7 times, and on that 7 times, it just lands. And so I want to share with you some of the quotes that came out of that. But I really like, that's my big takeaway in part one here, is just like the connections. You're not missing information. You don't need to learn more. You don't need to know more. It's like trusting yourself and showing up in your fullness, and you magnetize these opportunities into your life and make moves messy. I shared with you in the email of like, when that email came through, and literally the first like line that I see is like, hello, first name. And I'm like, are we rookies? you know, like there's a part of me that definitely thought about that. And then there was a part of me that was like, wow, what an inspiration that, she's claiming that she's doing this $21 million year in her business, and her audience, her list is so forgiving that, and it's also funny to me because I have unsubscribed to this email list 4 times, and I still get the emails. And like, I've even marked it as spam, and I still get the emails. And so it's like, there's clearly some list that I'm still on. And I surrendered. I was like, I'm supposed to be getting these emails, right? Okay. So I want to get back to Denver, because um this is all just everything that's shown up, from her emails to the Denver stuff to spending the week at the beach, is all just aligned for this. And one of the things that Peter had shared was kind of like these levels. And I'm going to share with you those levels and break it down kind of like whiteboard style in part two, and the best that I can. And he had said that the only way to grow is to solve bigger problems for bigger people. And like, that starts with you, right? And he said, like, you have to solve bigger problems for bigger people if you want to get paid more. It's not about working harder, it's about thinking bigger. And I think his biggest contract was like 55 million for one consulting project. And in our big consulting arm of A Better Place, like, we've flirted with a bunch of different kinds of contracts and um, vehicles. And to me, it's not about working with corporations as being the solution to making more money, but it is about solving a bigger problem. And so if you're out there saying like, I'm a health coach or I'm a business coach, that's not a big enough problem. And so what is it that you really want to, like, how do you have absolute clarity on the problem that your magic just like blows out of the water? And Peter had said, like, what I needed wasn't another strategy. It was to own the level that, or no, this was my note to me, is like, you don't need another strategy. You get to choose to own the level that you're at right now, like fully own that. Instead of like, I need to know something to get to the next level, like, you fully own the level that you're at right now. And you take ownership of that, and you attract people into it with that confidence. And instead of solving, thinking that life's going to get better at the next level, you're actually making life incredible at this level. So, and I know that like some of you that are reading this are over delivering for clients who don't necessarily appreciate your full brilliance. And sometimes I do this too, where I'm voice noting, responses that should be in our support channel and Defy and all of this kind of stuff. And like, this is your moment. This is your time to rise. This is your time to like really own that brilliance and know that you're not for everybody. And that's okay, because again, like, the bigger the problem, the bigger the payout, the bigger the impact, the bigger the income. And so instead of trying to solve everybody's problem, which will never happen, like, and I rarely use absolutes, you get to solve the problem that you're the fix for. Like you are the special key that unlocks in that person. So Dan Martell was another one of the speakers from Buy Back Your Time. I would share with you his book. However, my dad has stolen it and is reading it. So he signed a book for Guinness and I. But some of the things that he talked about was like, you don't need more time, you need more courage. And I want to talk about time and courage because one of the things that really struck me is somebody asked him a question and he started to answer the question and then he just pulled out his cell phone and like in real time made a phone call to actively like move to a solution with that problem, with the question that the person asked. Hold on, again, you're on my cord. Have a great day. Like he actively just was like, you know what? Let's just solve it right now. And like that was the takeaway. The takeaway was being able to, and actually I heard this from, it was like Diary of a CEO's interview with Kevin O'Leary about working with Steve Jobs. Hopefully you followed that. He said the reason that Steve Jobs was so brilliant is because he was 80% signal, 20% noise. And that what signal meant is like the 3 to 5 things per day that would move the needle. And that's really what struck me. I thought about Dan when I listened to that podcast episode, because that's what Dan was saying was like, he's all signal. Is, you know, somebody asked the question rather than thinking about and putting more noise into it and having the person take the notes and then hopefully acting on that either later in the day or that night or next week or whenever they had time. He's like, let's just move into signal right now. Like, don't scale noise, scale signal. Like, get clear on what's going to move the needle and then do it. And like, he just picked up the phone call and was like, instead of asking the question and then me answering the question and then you writing it down, he didn't say all this, but like, this is what I was observing. He's like, just do it. Like, why even create a to-do list? If you have the 3 things that you know that are going to move the needle, you know, you put them on a Post-it note. But like, we were talking about how much time is wasted in creating lists on what you're going to do versus just doing the thing. And, you know, that goes back to the email that I shared with you guys. It's like the people that are winning, the people that are earning, they're willing to act. They're willing to act fast. They're willing to act messy. They're willing to act bravely and like do the thing that's going to make an impact. Do the thing that's going to generate an income. Don't just talk about it. Don't just think about it. So how this hit for me is like so many of us are sharing because we're sharing what we think we should be sharing, and we're sharing because we think we have to, not because it's like aligned in our deepest truth. Like me doing this video, I didn't have to do this video. I could have just given you all of this. You know, I thought this was going to be a 3-minute part 1. Like, who knows how long it's going to be. But I'm like channeling and the energy is coming through. And there's those of you that are this far in the video that are like with me in this, that know me so much clearer now because of my energy. There's people who have already dropped off this video who are like, Bunny Young is not for me. Great. You know what? I'm so proud of them because they have gone and they have found another voice to listen to, hopefully, that they're aligned with and that is going to move the needle. And you are here because you're listening to this voice and it is inspiring or triggering something within you that's moving your needle. I want you to find your deepest truth. And if me sharing vulnerably evokes, triggers, inspires your deepest truth, like that's what I'm here for. That's what I'm here for. Instead of hiding behind like busy work and to-do lists and perfectionism, like being in this group, and this is what I do for my Defy people as well, is like, rather than hiding in the busy, like let's move from creating the strategy to allowing our messy action and our energy to dictate the strategy, right? Like one of the things that we talk about in Defy, this has nothing to do with the mastermind, but I think it's also applicable, is like being able to do what's called these ICIs, ideal client interviews. So the very first thing that I ask my Defy people to do is 5 or 10 of these conversations. And some people call them clarity calls, but it's different. It's like a ideal client interview and you're asking them the questions and you're getting, once you've done those, you have the messaging, you have clarity, you have pricing, you have your offer. Like literally when you get done with those, there's no guesswork. And then if you're still procrastinating, you're left with the patterns and you're left with the inner work to do. And like, we call all of the thinking strategy, we call all of the sitting behind the computer and typing, we call all of the messing with AI strategy, building a website, dialing in your Instagram, we call that strategy. The energy of connecting with your people, the energy of getting out there, the energy of having those conversations is going to eat strategy for breakfast every single time. Like moving, taking that action, bringing your magic into the world is the best strategy. And most people are over consuming and under integrating, under implementing. And those were two things last week that I really took away is I knew all this stuff. And then I went to write it down for you guys. And I showed you my papers on Instagram on my desk of like all of these notes. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to integrate this. I'm going to really take the time to integrate it. So many times we come away from a retreat, a workshop, a masterclass, even like the work-life alignment challenge, Money Magic May. If you did either of those with me, and it's like you are inspired, but then the implementation and the integration, either you implement without integrating or you're integrating, but you don't implement. And it takes those three things, I think, are the magic sauce: being inspired, integrating that inspiration. Why did it inspire you? What about it inspired you? What are you moved to do? And then implementing that. And so I walked away last week knowing at such a cellular level that I didn't need to know anything else. Like I cannot put that into words. The energy of knowing that I don't need to know anything else. Like I say this to my clients all the time. You have everything that you need in order to be successful right now. How do you embody that though? Like embodying what I already knew on the deepest level. So I want you to take out your pen and paper, and whether you use the AI prompt that's in the email, or whether you just answer this question, like what's one truth that you already know, but you haven't fully embodied, integrated, implemented, like you haven't acted on it yet. Okay. So I know I went way over. Reply to the email, ask me questions about this. Look at the PS. And next week, I'm going to share with you more from the AI conversations. I'm going to do my best to break down the leadership lessons, as also like the levels. That's the word, the L word that I was looking for. And then what I'm changing in my own business around that. So the last thing I want to leave you with, though, is a Dan Martell and a Peter quote. So you don't need, this is from Dan, you don't need more information. You need more belief. And Peter said, if you're playing to be liked, you're probably not playing to win. So let me know in the comments what you thought of this. Reply to the email. If you are watching this because a friend shared this with you and you're not on my email list, go to the show notes, go to the video notes right below this. And you will find a link there to be able to join me in the Alchemy, in our email list, where you're going to get weekly coaching. And if you are coming from the email list, let's cross-pollinate. Definitely subscribe. There's going to be a button that's going to pop up. Just hit the subscription. I'm bringing my YouTube channel back because I absolutely love like the behind the scenes of not just the podcast, but being able to do this with you guys. And so this allows me just another way to connect deeper with you. So that's part one. Stay tuned for part two, and I will see you next week.